Want to speak real Spanish from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at SpanishPod101.com.
The 10 hardest words to pronounce in Spanish. So let's begin. Frigorífico, refrigerator. Frigorífico, which means refrigerator. Cuando el frigorífico se estropeó, tuvimos que tirar mucha comida. When the refrigerator broke down, we had to throw away a lot of food. Correr, run. Me gustaría algún día correr una maratón. I would like to someday run a marathon. Espantapájaros, scarecrow. Me gusta cuando la gente viste a los espantapájaros como si fueran personas. I like when people dress up scarecrows as if they were people. Exquisito, delicious. Fuimos a un restaurante muy caro y toda la comida era exquisita. We went to a very fancy restaurant and all the food was very delicious. Idiosincrasia, idiosyncrasy. The next word is idiosincrasia, which means idiosyncrasy. Una de sus idiosincrasias es lavarse las manos cada hora. One of his idiosyncrasies is washing his hands every hour. Perro, dog. Cuando era pequeña tenía miedo de los perros. When I was a child, I was scared of dogs. Niño, child. Cuando era niño se portaba muy mal con los otros niños. When he was a child, he was very bad to the other children. Paraguas, umbrella. The next word is paraguas, which means umbrella. Siempre me olvido el paraguas en los sitios. I always forget my umbrella at places. Pelo, hair. The next word is pelo, which means hair. Me corté el pelo hace poco. I cut my hair recently. Pingüino, penguin. The next word is pingüino, which means penguin. Me gusta la forma de andar de los pingüinos. I like how penguins walk.
In this lesson, you'll learn the basics of Spanish pronunciation. Spanish is a rich language that's decorated with a wide variety of accents and dialects. Since accents and dialects play a huge role in pronunciation, let's take a more detailed look at the different types of accents and dialects of Spanish from around the world.
First off, an accent is just a particular way of pronouncing words, like tomato or tomato. They may sound slightly different from one another, but all the rules that govern their use in the language are essentially the same.
Dialects, on the other hand, may branch off from the standard language by differing in grammar, word order, and of course pronunciation as well. Therefore, it's generally harder to understand a dialect than an accent.
First, let's make some distinctions as to how we refer to the Spanish language. First, español. Español is generally used to refer to the Spanish language as a supergroup. This includes all varieties of Spanish spoken in Spain and internationally. Beneath that is Castilian, which is the actual term used to exclusively refer to the Spanish spoken in Spain.
Mexican Spanish is a dialect of Spanish that is spoken in Mexico. Unsurprisingly, due to its proximity to the USA, Mexican Spanish uses far more English words than other dialects of Spanish.
Another example, which we mentioned in the previous episode, is Argentinian. Argentinian is another dialect of Spanish spoken in Argentina, and it closely resembles Italian because a huge wave of Italians migrated to Argentina during the 20th century. So Argentinian actually sounds a bit like Italian.
Pace is a very important aspect of Spanish because it varies greatly depending on the dialect of Spanish spoken.
The Spanish is almost renowned for being a fast-paced language.
The pace greatly depends on the region, however, as people in Mexico and some South American countries generally speak slower than speakers from Spain.
In some Spanish-speaking countries, it's common practice to shorten words. For example, words ending in an S will instead have the final vowel prolonged. Casas, for instance, would be pronounced casa.
We also mentioned before that some dialects of Spanish are influenced by other languages, such as Italian and English. Mexican Spanish uses a lot of English words, and English, being considered a slower-paced language, slows down the pace of the language. And that's one of the reasons Mexican Spanish is slower than the Spanish spoken in Spain.
The pace of Spanish, then, depends greatly on the dialect of Spanish.
For the most part, English and Spanish share a lot of the same sounds, which generally correspond to the same letters.
Thankfully, learning Spanish pronunciation is much easier than English pronunciation. Learning English is more a matter of memorization and practice, whereas Spanish is a combination of learning and practice. It takes much longer for a student to learn English pronunciation than Spanish pronunciation.
That's because there are many more irregular pronunciations of words in English than there are in Spanish. Take these words, for example. The first word is pronounced colonel, not colonel. The second word is pronounced arise. Adding an N, however, doesn't give you arisen, but arisen. The last word is pronounced ate, but adding an H doesn't give you hate. Instead, it becomes height.
Spanish, on the other hand, can mostly be pronounced as it's read. Almendra. The word almendra, meaning almond, is pronounced almendra. It's pronounced exactly the same as it's written. Almendra. The same thing happens with the word carretera, meaning road. Carretera, it's pronounced carretera. Exactly how it's written. Carretera.
That's a good example which demonstrates sounds that do not exist in English.
That's right. The double R here is a rolled R. It can be a little tricky for some learners. Carretera. Another common word is perro, meaning dog. Perro. Perro.
The trick is to build pressure at the point of contact, using the tip of your tongue to contact the top teeth and gum ridge, and then releasing the pressure quickly by flicking the tongue up and back. When you release the pressure, allow only the smallest amount of air to pass through, so that a tiny passage opens and closes rapidly. This should cause the tongue to vibrate or roll correctly. Try again.
Perro. Perro.
Well done! Let's wrap up this lesson by recapping what we've learned. In this lesson, you learned about accents and dialects in Spanish, that the spoken pace depends on the dialect, and that Spanish is mostly pronounced as it's written.
Want to get cheat sheets, audiobooks, lessons, apps, and much more every month for free? Just click the link in the description to get your free language gifts of the month.
In this first lesson, you'll learn about the building blocks of the Spanish pronunciation system that will help you in future lessons. The letters used in Spanish are the same as the letters you use in English, with the exception of one other letter, and these letters, with accents over them. But be careful not to fall into a very common trap. As you're learning to speak correctly, you shouldn't concern yourself with all the letters. That's right, forget them. You care about the sounds of Spanish, and here they are. There are 27 consonant sounds and 5 vowel sounds. Each symbol that you see here represents a single sound determined by the IPA, which is a standardized way to represent sounds without the accompanying baggage that's often involved with traditional letters. By using these 32 sounds, you can form every single word in Spanish. Still seem complicated? Well, how about this? Of the 27 consonant sounds in Spanish, you already know 18 of them. That's right. If you're a native English speaker, then you already make these sounds every day. We'll cover familiar sounds in lessons 4 and 5. You can also ignore 2 of the vowel sounds for the same reason. The only things standing between you and perfect Spanish pronunciation are 9 new consonant and 3 new vowel sounds. You can handle that. Now let me introduce Alex, who will be helping you to master these new sounds.
Hola, soy Alex.
Alex will be giving you native pronunciation examples for you to imitate. But for this first lesson, just sit back and listen to the unique sounds of Spanish.
Obtuso, trigo, pollo, cañón, rumbo, bravo, tláhuac, quetzal, ayuno, rata, vehemente, boscoso.
In the next lesson, we'll look at the top 5 pronunciation mistakes Spanish learners make. You'll want to make sure not to fall into these common traps. After that, we'll begin going through the vowels and consonants of Spanish. This is your chance to learn how to correctly say all of the words you just heard. We'll finish up the series by covering some special topics that will really make your Spanish sound natural. To close this lesson, here's a question for you. Why is it important to spend time on learning proper pronunciation, even if you're already an advanced speaker? The answer, you will be understood, and this will help you build more confidence as you communicate in Spanish. For beginners, you're creating a strong foundation to build on. And for more advanced students, this is your chance to improve your accent and lose any bad habits you may have picked up. In this lesson, you'll learn the top 5 Spanish pronunciation mistakes to avoid. These are common mistakes that students of Spanish tend to make, so pay close attention and make sure that you don't make these same mistakes too. Are you ready? Then let's get started. Number 1. Pronouncing the letter H. The letter H is silent in Spanish. Most people learning Spanish try to pronounce it when in fact it should be silent. English speakers in particular are used to pronouncing it in their own language, so they try to do so in Spanish as well. But don't make this same mistake. Take hello, for example.
Hola,
Notice that Alex does not pronounce the H sound.
hola,
Let's move on to number 2.
ña,
Many Spanish learners tend to pronounce this consonant incorrectly. Listen to Alex pronounce this consonant in a few words.
niño, niña, baño,
This letter can be difficult for students of Spanish to pronounce, mostly because they don't have this sound in their language. One trick to pronouncing this sound is by saying the word onion or canyon. It kind of sounds like a combination between an N and a Y sound, doesn't it? But don't worry about much of the specifics for now, as we'll break down this consonant in Lesson 7. Number 3. Mispronouncing the letter J. The letter J sounds a bit like an H sound in English. This is confusing for many speakers, particularly if their language also uses the Roman letters H and J. But not only this, because if you listen very carefully, it's not the same sound as the H in the English word how, for example. Listen to Alex again. It's pronounced further back, close to the throat. In fact, you should feel a little tickle in the back of the throat. This sound is also pronounced with a bit more force. Listen to Alex pronounce this letter in a few words.
jamón, eje, reloj,
Number 4. Pronouncing Spanish vowels. When pronouncing vowels in Spanish, many speakers tend to stretch out the vowels for too long. Spanish vowels should be pronounced short and simple. Listen to Alex.
a, e, I, o, u,
Now listen to Alex pronounce these vowels in a few words. Pay close attention to the duration of the vowel in each word.
amigo, enero, ir, oro, uva,
And finally, number 5. Mispronouncing the double L sound.
y,
Double L's are not pronounced the same as the English L sound. Many Spanish learners tend to pronounce it as such or try to extend the sound to compensate. However, the actual sound is quite different. Listen to it again.
y,
It sounds like a combination of an L and a Y sound. Now, let's listen to how Alex pronounces this sound in a few words.
llamar, llave, pollo,
We'll break down this sound in Lesson 6. Now you know the top 5 Spanish pronunciation mistakes to avoid. Try to be careful so that you don't make these same mistakes. In this lesson, you'll learn all 5 Spanish vowel sounds.
a, e, I, o, u.
With these sounds, you can pronounce any vowel that could possibly appear in Spanish. Are you ready? Then let's get started. The first vowel is
A, rata, rana, azahar,
This is similar to the A sound in the word spa, but there is one subtle difference. Try to relieve the pressure from the back of the throat a little.
a, 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 a,
The next vowel is
e, bebé, escalón, vehemente,
This is similar to the E sound in the word let.
e, 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 e,
The next vowel is
I, dimitir, mío, tipo,
It's identical to the double E sound in the word see.
I, 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 I,
The next vowel is
o, boscoso, oso, todo,
This is similar to the O sound in the word boring.
O, 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 O,
And the last vowel is
U, dúo, cucurucho, curable.
it's identical to the double O sound in the word boot.
U, 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 U.
Did you notice how in all of the examples, Alex said the vowels short and simply? This is how you should do it too. Many Spanish learners tend to stretch out the vowel sounds longer than needed. Try not to do this. Now let's move on to the next topic. A diphthong refers to two vowel sounds that are pronounced within the same syllable. You can kind of think of it like gliding from one vowel to the next very quickly. English has diphthongs as well. Take the word loin, for example. It's not pronounced lo-in, but loin. Notice how the O transitions into the I very quickly. It's almost like you're trying to merge the two sounds. Loin. Notice the difference? Okay, now let's listen to a few examples in Spanish.
Gracias, gracias. Hierba, hierba. Agua, agua. Encuentro, encuentro. Causa, causa. Neutro, neutro. Aire, aire. Trapezoide, trapezoide.
Okay, I think you got the hang of it. Most vowel sound pairings are diphthongs in Spanish. However, sometimes they're pronounced individually. Listen to the following examples.
Tía, país. Mío, río.
Words that are pronounced separately are marked with a rising accent from left to right. We'll cover more about accentuation in Lesson 8, but that's all for vowels.